Hello, and welcome back to a brand new, exciting episode of Video Ditch, podcast about video games. It's me, Sam, as always, joined by my co-host Nick. And today we have a very special guest coming from another time zone across the globe. We got Carlo coming in today to talk about his upcoming game, Steel Seed. So thank you for coming on today, Carlo.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you want to tell the viewers and listeners a little bit about yourself, just who you are and your role in the company?
I am the founder of the company and the game director on Steel Seed. I also do lighting and post-process for the game. This is my role on this project, on this specific project.
Excellent. Okay, yeah, and on today's show, we'll be discussing a bit of his gaming history and taking a deeper dive into his current project and perhaps even looking at, what's to come in the future. But yeah, to start us off, how are we all doing today?
Doing the best I've ever been at midnight.
Actually, it's early morning here and I'm already tired. So this game is just draining my energies, really.
Yeah, nonstop.
Yeah, it's 4 years and a half of development right now.
Oh, wow.
So it's a piece of life, It's a piece of life.
Yeah, you put so much of yourself into it now at this point.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what defines a good game, right? A piece of your soul's inside of it, a little piece of your identity.
Absolutely. But this is the bigger game of Storming Out Teacup till now. Our last game was Close to the Sun. It was a huge effort, but not this huge. I mean, it was the Steel Seed is a different beast. It's on another league.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we'll certainly get to Steel Seed, and I'm curious as to where you are feeling like you're at in the whole development cycle. Like, do you at least feel like there's light at the end of the tunnel now that you're seeing?
There is. I mean, the game should be released in this year, in 2024.
Okay.
And that means that we are looking actually at the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you more because I cannot tell you the release date on the market.
Okay, perfect.
This is something that the publisher will not be very happy about.
Okay.
But
no worries.
I can tell you that we are there. We are there.
All right, everything's lining up. Good to hear.
Yeah, it's good to hear.
Nothing ever lines up in development. Okay, nothing.
Everything's as good as it can be, barring any surprises.
There you go. That does seem to be the consensus we get from a lot of devs that come on the show, is that it's a rocky process.
Yeah, never expect anything to go to schedule.
Yeah, schedule. Okay. we could talk about for an hour about the schedule, but
of course
that would be boring. Schedule means more or less nothing in game development. That's all I can say.
Okay. Well, good to know. I guess we could let's talk about something a little more lighthearted, a little more fun. Let's talk about your history with gaming.
Yeah.
Carlo.
Ooh.
How did it all begin?
How did it all begin?
Okay. So I am 42 years old and I started gaming in the 80s actually.
Okay.
My first experience gaming was on a Commodore 64. And on Christmas of 1989, I think, or something like that, I received an NES.
Okay.
And so I moved from the Commodore 64 to the NES, and from there it was just rolling, After the NES, there was the SNES, and then the PlayStation and PlayStation 2, and blah blah blah.
Sure, yeah, a lot of progress in a relatively short amount of time.
Never break free. Gaming has grasp on you. Yeah.
Exactly. And those were really different times from now, no?
Yeah,
really different
certainly.
times.
Yes.
Games were incredibly hard and incredibly bad. I mean, when I say bad, I mean it. They were bad. It was different also because your parents used to gift you a game on Christmas, and that was the game that had to last for 1 year
Exactly.
until the next
Yeah.
Christmas.
Yeah, the level of
So
access was different.
You didn't have 200 titles in your Steam library that you will never play, you know?
Yeah.
You had that game for that year, and then you were swapping games with friends at school.
Mhm.
But the nerd culture was not really a thing still in the 90s. So not many people had consoles or things like that, at least at my school. So you were choosing friends not because they had consoles, okay?
Yeah.
And the nice thing I remember about those times is that games were bad, but I'm saying that retrospectively, okay? I look back and I think, okay, those games were really bad. But at those times, there were no bad games. Okay?
Sure. Any
We could
experience was
find-
a treat. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And we had lots of fun with any game, even the worst one. I remember friends coming at my home or me going to the house of a friend of mine and gathering in front of the TV with stupid games like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Oh yeah.
And we had gazillions of fun. Really, lots of fun.
Yeah.
The people were different, times were different, and games were different. So when I see a bad game today, let's take, for example, AAA games that are not really that good and people complain a lot. Well, Gollum, for example, okay? I look back at my times and I think, wait a second, that's not that bad, you know? That Gollum game is not that bad.
Comparatively, certainly,
Yeah.
certainly, yeah.
You can actually move around. You don't die instantly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm certain that people are experiencing the same sort of joy from a bad game like Gollum today that you were experiencing back then. You know, even though things have changed so
Well,
much.
yes, because sometimes it's so bad, so good, you know? It's,
Yeah. Ironically, they're enjoying it.
Yeah, I never played Gollum, but I heard about it so much that at some point I want to play it.
Yeah, it's kind of piqued your
Yeah.
interest at that point. Yeah, certainly. Okay. So with gaming such as it was as a youth, what genres did you gravitate towards when you could kind of pick what you were playing or what you would be getting a hold of?
In the ancient times, there were no genres really.
Fair enough.
98% of the games were platformers.
Yes.
Yes, then you had Top Gun, I remember, but it was a niche, you know.
Well, there you go.
But I didn't have a preference, actually. I loved all the games, all of them. But I remember the first game that changed my life for real. For real, it changed my life. I'm not joking about that. And it was Final Fantasy VII.
Oh yes,
Oh,
the
wow.
greatest game ever made. Some say.
I'm one of those guys. Yes, I
yeah.
also have
we're big
three
fans.
tattoos here
Oh,
of
yeah.
Final Fantasy VII.
Love
Oh,
that.
what have you got? Can I see that actually? Is it like Genova or Sephiroth or something?
It is.
Oh, we got-
Harriet,
Oh yeah.
Okay.
and then it's difficult to see. But there is a Sephiroth here
Very
somewhere.
Yeah,
Nice.
I love Sephiroth.
Okay, yeah. Wonderful. That's one
I'm
of the
one
greats.
of those guys.
One of the greats.
Yes, I'm one of those guys that love the original a lot, and I'm not enjoying the remake.
Oh yeah, just like Sam.
I'm with you there.
Even a
I'm
bit.
with you there.
Even a bit.
Yeah.
But apart from that, there is no elitism in original versus versus remake. Just you prefer one, someone else prefers the other one. It's
Yeah,
okay.
they both exist.
If you're having
yeah.
fun, it's okay.
Totally.
But I remember that talking about my career that didn't even start at that point, of course. There were some key moments in my gaming, in my let's call it in my pop culture appropriation.
Okay.
that
Okay.
shaped me. They shaped me as a developer. The first moment was when my father showed me for the first time Star Wars, the
Mm.
original one, of course.
Okay. Yeah.
And that sticked in my brain, you know. It really stayed there, and even today, it's still there. Really, really
I get
vivid,
you.
really sharp.
Mm.
The second moment was Final Fantasy VII, because we were not talking about a movie, we were talking about a game. But for the first time in my life, I felt like, okay, I never played an RPG before. Just bear in mind. I was like, okay, so there can be a story, actually, a good one, a good
Yeah.
story behind the game. For real?
Revolutionary.
Yes. And the game was so long. I remember that when I finished the Midgar part, so the first disc,
Mm.
I was like, okay, what are the other two discs for? I mean, I finished the game. It took me so long to arrive to this
I
point.
finished this arc. Yeah.
And then an entire globe, an entire
Yeah, it's
planet
amazing, isn't it?
Whole
opened in
world
front of
opened
me. And I
up.
was like,
Yeah.
what the? This was just the beginning.
I know, it
So,
spoils you almost. You play anything else like, well, what the hell? That only took me 50 hours to beat? Worthless.
yeah, but it took me 8 months on my first playthrough. I still remember it. 8 months to finish that game.
Nice.
And I loved every second of it. Also, was the game that, well, the copy I bought of Final Fantasy VII was just in English. Was not. It had no localization in Italian.
Mhm.
So I remember playing the game, and the dialogues were important in that game. So I had a vocabulary near to me, an English dictionary.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
know?
Yeah.
And I started learning English for real, because before my English was just the school English, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
It meant nothing. So the game really, and it was a really difficult time in my life, and that game helped a lot. Really helped a lot. I mean,
Oh.
in a moment of real depression, a game where the main character has his own problems but can overcome those problems. It was like, okay, I can make it too, you know. I can make it.
Yeah, that's
If he
awesome.
made it, I can make it.
That's wonderful.
I'm glad Cloud is able to do so much for people the world over. I mean that genuinely. I love Final Fantasy VII.
Same.
Yeah, tell to me.
Yeah.
The idea that you have to cure yourself, you have to take care of yourself before you can take care of others, you know.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, sitting in that wheelchair, thinking that you're never going to use them again. It was not like nothing before. Or really
Yeah,
since.
it was. And the graphics, I mean, Final Fantasy VII was the first time I thought, okay, these graphics are mind blowing, you know. Because before that, graphics were, well, you remember PlayStation 1 titles. I mean, they were kind of rough.
A little
A little
blocky.
rough, a little blocky.
A little angular.
And then I was watching this game with pre-rendered backgrounds and the cutscenes.
The cutscenes, the FMVs, yeah.
Yeah, they were amazing. And I was already actually experimenting with 3D software, Photoshop, and stuff like that. So
Okay.
I knew a bit about that world, and that game made me think, okay, maybe I want to do that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that kind of segues right into the next question. It's like, when did you get your start into development, or when did you transition from being a player to someone that creates as well?
It was quite early, actually, because my father is an engineer.
Okay.
And I started coding in BASIC on the Commodore 64
Wow.
at the age of 8. I think.
Wow. Okay.
Well, bear in mind, I was helped by my father, of course, but
Even so,
it clicked, you know, in some way it clicked. Some things I needed the help of my father, because when you talk about Cartesian plans or coordinates, X, Y, you are 8 years old. You know nothing about that stuff, of course. You know that 3 plus 3 is 6, and that's it.
Yeah.
So I needed the help from him, and some things I didn't quite understand really at that time. So he was helping me. But everything else really clicked. I mean, I started following. My cousin was a programmer at the time already, so he gave me a book to study programming in basics. And basic is it was a very powerful and simple language. Okay, so it was incredibly easy to learn and really effective. You didn't need 2,000 lines of code to do something, to make something appear on the screen. It was really just logic. Still today, I really love BASIC. I really love it. I think it was a wonderful language, programming language. So my first game was actually a ball, a yellow ball that was bouncing on the screen, and you could change the impact angle of the ball.
Okay.
So if you touch nothing on the keyboard, the ball was just bouncing around on the screen, following the usual 90-degree angle, okay, bouncing. But you could change that angle and make things appear. The ball was behaving strangely at that point. And I started adding more balls to the equation with different starting points. So at some point, the Commodore just crashed because it could not handle too many balls on the screen doing things at the same time.
Ambitious.
And then I moved to Turbo Pascal, which is a programming language I actually hated, and I still hate it.
Okay.
And I was, I think, I don't know, 12 or 13, I don't
Okay.
remember.
A few years
But
later.
at the
certainly.
same time, this is strange because I'm not a programmer, okay? I'm an artist, okay? I'm not a programmer today. But I had a lot of experience in different languages in my life. For example, at some point I learned the JavaScript but just for HTML use and online use.
Right.
But that JavaScript, okay, I'm running too much, but was the
No.
same language that was
No worries.
used in NewTek Lightwave, and it was called L-script.
Okay.
But
Okay.
it was the same thing. And at the same time, when I joined ages later, when I joined Ubisoft, they were using Lua, which is not JavaScript, of course. But if you know the basics of programming and the basics of scripting, that helps a lot in learning Lua. And Lua is a beautiful scripting language. It reminds me a lot of BASIC because it's fast, it's usable. You can completely rely on it. But I was saying that at the same time I was actually learning Turbo Pascal. My father came back from Hong Kong, and at those times in Hong Kong, he was doing a lot of work-related travels around the globe. Okay, and every time he was bringing something for me, and if he has some strange game or something, he would bring the floppy. So it was like, okay, it was like he had this much discs. It was like they told me it's a game. I bought it in Hong Kong on a road markets, black market, something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know what game that is, but it's a lot of discs, so it must be cool. It was not a game; it was a 3D software model.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Okay.
So I didn't felt like something was wrong in the universe. I was like, okay, what is this? I started learning what buttons were doing, and from there I started also using 3D Studio. At the times it was not 3D Studio Max; it was just 3D Studio, and Power Animator, which lately became Maya, and all these incredible softwares that helped me during my career. And it was a joke. It was like, okay, I'm having fun, I'm having fun in my room. And I remember render times, like once I was like, to render one single frame, it took me 1 week, I think. So I was going to school, coming back home, still rendering, then going to sleep in the evening, going to school
Yeah.
the day after, coming back, still rendering. It was, computers were not that powerful at the time, and software were not
Certainly.
that optimized, and
Yeah.
we didn't have many things, but it was fun as hell, fun as hell. But still, it was fun. I was playing with this stuff, and I also bought Matrox video editing cards, and I started playing with video editing, and later Adobe Premiere and Adobe After
Okay.
Effects, and I started doing post production and visual effects and things like that. But I was still at school, so
Yeah.
fun and games. When the school ended, of course, my parents wanted for me to go to the university. Okay, so I went to the university for a couple of months, but I don't know if I was smoking too many joints or something else. But after 2 months, I said, okay, this is not for me. This is not for me. And my parents were furious about that. So I understood as a smart kid that if I didn't want to have my parents furious at home all the time, I needed to study something to make them, to patch the hole.
Yeah,
that I made.
appease the situation. Yeah.
And so I went for a couple of years to an art school, and it was really interesting, really good experiences and things like that. So I studied at different art schools, but at that point I understood, okay, this can really become a job, This could, I don't know how. I have no idea how, even because in Italy at the time there was nothing to work for that kind of things.
Sure.
But it can be a job in the future. So I closed myself in my computer room, and for 3 years straight, I just did graphics and graphics and graphics, 2D graphics, 3D graphic, motion design, video editing, post-process, visual effects. And I started also working from today, I think is 21 years. I do this job, and I was working for free, because there was not much in Italy. They were not paying goods. But if you wanted to have some kind of portfolio, curriculum experience, it was a really bad situation. You had to work for free. You had to. Today, I would. Sometimes some guys, some really young guys from the university, tell me, let us come to Stormina Teacup to work for you. We will work for free. No way, guys. No way. I did it. Okay, I passed through that. No one is going to pass through that like I did. No one. No one. If you come here and you work for me, you get paid. That's
You
it.
get paid. Yeah, there you go. Hell yeah.
Because it was just hell. And my family could afford that hell. Okay. I was going back home and tell to my mother and my father, oh, today I learned how to do this and that. It was amazing, and they were really happy about that, but they could afford it. No one, I mean, not everyone can afford to have a son that is working without getting paid. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, certainly.
And so at some point, I've been working for long years, and then at some point I had enough of this country. I'm really sorry to say that. Okay, I'm really sorry, because I love Italy. I love it. I live in Rome, by the way, which is a city, one of the two main cities in Italy, because the main cities are Rome and Milan. And it is obviously easier to find jobs for computer graphics and things like that in Rome or Milan rather than other cities. Of course, they're bigger, they're more important. But no, it was just hell. After 5 years of working for free, I said, okay, I think I need to move. I need to move.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Not because of the money, really, but because if I don't get paid, and at this time, I'm not learning anything more because I reached a cap, you know.
There's a
So
ceiling, certainly.
I reached a cap for here. But at the
Mhm.
same time, I was looking what artists were doing outside of Italy. And they were real masters, real gods that were producing CGI, you know. And I was like, I want to be like them, but if I want to be like them, I need to be with them to learn.
Yeah, certainly.
So I started sending curriculums outside. And my first job was in London for a AAA game and a PS3 exclusive. And I still was not really decided about games or movies, but it was a job, so I took it. And
Yeah.
from there, I worked on many movies, also always in London. But then it opened the gate. It opened a big, huge gate. Once the gate was open, if you're not stupid, if you manage to open that gate, the first gate, and you are not stupid, your life is okay. Okay. You can learn more, go to more companies, work on more projects. You have your job, which is a really good, well-paid job. Okay. And you can make a family, and your life is okay. Okay.
Get
If
into
you are
that place.
stupid, you spend lots of efforts to open the first gate, and then you waste everything because you say, okay, I reached the top level, I reached the peak. Now I can rest. No, you can't. You can't.
Can't
Okay.
stop.
You can't stop. You can't stop learning. That's the point. You can't stop learning.
Can't
And
stagnate.
so I really wanted to work in video games again. I really wanted, you know. But I wanted to do my job. I was specialized in lighting and visual effects, post-process, and things like that. And the technology didn't really allow that at the time. So I was waiting in the shadows, you know, working on movies and commercials and music videos and things like that. I was lurking in the shadows like Gollum, eating my fish.
There you go.
And at some point, the technology arrived. There are some major events in the technology world that you can recognize. And so at that point, I called my I love her, Cassandra Donnelly. She was my external recruiter. She was finding jobs for me. Okay, I love her. I love her so much. Such a good woman.
Shout out. Yeah.
Really a big professional. And she found me a job in Ubisoft, a lead lighting artist, and I was like, okay, let's go meet them. And I met them, and we loved each other. And we really loved each other. And from Ubisoft, then I worked on many projects. I went on Square Enix, Crytek, Warner Bros. Games, and so on. And always with titles as lead artist or project manager. So that was my path, which was a complex one coming from a long time. You know, some people start learning this kind of job when they are already 20, 18, 20. I started when I was 8 years old. So it was a long one. But what I always say is that, and I think it's important, I made lessons in different universities around the globe and private institutes and things like that. What I always say is that, you know, in the 90s, I had the internet, no one else had it in Italy. But even if I had the internet, there was no YouTube. There was no big forum or discussion board to talk about your problems with that software. No one was helping you. No one. So if you wanted to achieve something, you had to get good. There was no other way. There was no guy with 5 minutes videos on YouTube telling you, you want to do this effect, this is how you do it. No way. So people at that time had to understand, we were forced to understand what was happening behind the button that you were clicking. Okay. So it was not just like, okay, if I press this button, this happens, so it's okay. No, what's happening? What's the code behind the button? What's actually doing? Because if that button is correct or is not correct, I want to know it before than wasting my time.
Yeah.
And so I remember meeting people, amazing people in London. Like there was this guy that worked on the first motion capture ever in history, the one for Michael Jackson, the Ghost video.
Oh yeah, the Roger Ebert video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Crazy music
I
video.
met so many good guys. Like I met really amazing people from the old Psygnosis, if you remember the company, Wipeout, Chipolis, and things like that.
Oh, Wipeout. Yeah.
Yeah. And they were all like me. They were like, yes, we want to know what's happening when you press a fucking button, you know? Oh, sorry for swearing.
No,
We
it's all
want
good.
to
You're all
know
good. You're all
it
good.
because otherwise I will never press that button. It's like a nuclear bomb button. Or I know what's going to happen, or I don't push it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
And this kind of way of thinking, I call it, well, method, okay? I bring it to Storm in a Teacup, to my own company, so that don't just stop at what the software gives you, understand what the software can do for you, and then modify it. So usually Storm in a Teacup, yes, we have to talk about SteelSeal.
No worries. No worries.
In Storm in a Teacup, we used Unity before, but now our last 3 projects we are using Unreal, and we don't really use the engine buttons. We create what we need for the project. Okay.
Oh.
So the idea is that you need something. Don't expect, even if the engine does it, don't expect from the engine to do it as you want, because a button is a really generic thing. A node in the node editor is something incredibly generic. Talk to the programmers and ask them to create a program for you inside the engine to do what you want, not in a generic way.
Right. They're just using the same presets, like so many games. It's true, especially with Unity. I remember we're just basically buying a bunch of assets and putting them on the Steam store without putting any effort in. It's a huge problem. So it's really good to hear that you guys are really going out of your way to make it your own and put your own spin on every aspect of it, down to even the engine level. I think that's really great.
Yeah, it's well, it's you get tired a lot, but you get the results. The results you want.
Exactly. Yeah, that's that degree of control. I'm sure it's very.
I remember
satisfying.
one day I was going to. This is a big terrain. Okay. This is my office, and then there is the office, the building where the guys work. I was going there. I was looking at a programmer screen, and I was like, "Oh, cool! Now a real engine lets you do that." And he was like, "No, I wrote that." I was like,
Nice.
Completely
Way
custom.
to go. Yeah.
But it was an entire system for animation. I was like, "What? Good boy."
It makes sense too. What you're saying with your background, everything was completely unknown. If you wanted anything done, any sort of easier way, there was no way to go online and just download someone else's toolkit. You had to make it yourself.
You have to learn, how to do it. It's very
It was
cool.
luck. Of course, a kid today can learn really fast. Okay. But I think that we have really good technicians. They are really you want the most amazing explosion for Harry Potter, you will get the most amazing explosion for Harry Potter.
Yeah.
But if there is a problem, or if you want something different that the guy doesn't know how to do, he will ask someone else, or the programmer, or he will look for some tutorial online to achieve the result that you want as the art director. Okay. And that's not correct. That's not, you should learn to think not just which button does what, and learn it really well.
Right. Have creative ability, you know? Be able to have some ambition, willingness to learn. Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it takes years, not just a couple of years. It takes 10 years, 12
Yeah,
years,
sure.
15 years.
Yeah, to learn a tool set and to have command over it in a way like that, seems like, yeah, a lot of hours need to be put into that. All right, on.
Any more questions,
yeah.
guys? You have many. I can see here you have
Yeah.
many.
We got a few, yeah, certainly. Well, we could move on to
No.
Steel Seed now
Yes,
that
the
you've given
game.
us a brief history
Okay.
of yeah,
So
your
for the
gaming and the
layman,
company.
yes, someone who has no idea anything about the game, how would you describe what Steel Seed is about and kind of the idea that became Steel Seed?
Steel Seed, let me find the words, is a
No worries.
story-driven stealth action game.
Mhm.
Okay, so we packed it. It's in that box.
There you go.
The idea came. Oh, this is hard. Okay, we finished Close to the Sun, and we were like, okay, what are we going to do now? And as I think any game development company, our drawers are full of ideas. Okay, you open the drawer, and you're like, which one you pick for the next game? But I understood that because how this specific market evolves, we needed to grow in a way. Okay, we could not keep doing Close to the Sun like games forever. It doesn't work like that. If you are aiming for the moon, you cannot reach the moon with that rocket. You need another rocket. And my idea was like, okay, I always aimed really high, and I'm going to aim even higher. And let's see if we reach this damn satellite and how we reach it. And I aimed really, really high this time because, well, Close to the Sun is a game that you can finish in 4 hours, let's say, between 4 and 8, but it really depends on how much you explore. If you don't explore a lot, then in 4 hours it's done, okay? But Steel Seed, God, it's big.
Yeah.
It's big, and Close to the Sun was just closed environments. Steel Seed as closed environments, open environments, semi-open environments. We have rock, plants, metal,
Okay.
every kind of plastic and material used in robotics you can imagine. It's a behemoth. It's a behemoth.
Okay.
And I understood immediately that if I wanted to achieve a behemoth with such a small company, we have 20 people, guys.
Okay. Puts it into
Well,
perspective.
20 people, including the management. So actually less than that on the game.
Yeah, actively.
If we wanted to achieve that, we needed to hire more people to reach at least 20, as I told you. But to make the hiring process as important as the developing process. There was my philosophy is that if you want to be a small company and you want to achieve something great, you need to place a really tall wall in front of your company entrance. Not anyone can enter. Not just because you cost less than the other guy, then you can enter and join us. The idea is that I don't want the best guy, even because in Italy it's really difficult to find prepared people. We still don't have that culture, so that people already worked on many projects and they have an experience and expertise. No, when you hire someone, that someone is fresh. So don't hire the good one, the one who has more knowledge. Hire the smart one, because the smart one will learn a lot the one that knows a lot now, you don't know how much he can grow during the
Mhm.
years with you. But the smart one has the flames in his eyes. He wants to grow. He wants to do more. He wants to learn more,
Mhm.
And so we started hiring a really long hiring process that left lots of people outside of the gates. But the few ones that joined us, man, they are something. They are the programmers, the concept artists, the 3D artists, the game designers, the animators, all of them. I mean, we are a small family. 20 people is a small family. They are the correct guys for the correct position. And I don't know how to thank them enough, actually, for what they have done in 4 years and a half. Imagine this. When I was working on AAA, I was usually jumping on projects for the last year. Last year,
Mhm.
close the project, ship it. 4 years and a half. Even I didn't experience something like that before in my life. I never worked for 4 years and a half on a project in my life.
On a single project, yeah.
Yeah. So imagine them, really young, not 40 years old. They are 20. Imagine
So yeah,
them.
now they've really given a part of their lives to this project, yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
because
for
they've only
me,
lived
I
so
have a
much of
wife,
it.
I have a son, okay? But so in my brains, I digest things in a different way. But when you're that young, how can you be so committed to something?
Mhm.
They are good, man. They are good. That's it. They are good. No matter the copies that still we sell on the market, no matter that, they
Mhm.
have been fantastic.
That's great. I mean, that's awesome to hear from someone in your position speaking so highly of their team. I'm sure they'd really appreciate knowing that they're being spoken of so highly.
Yeah, I think that says a lot about the game too, that you can say that the people working on it genuinely care about it. Like you're
Can I
saying, not
smoke?
Mhm.
not a bunch of just random. Go ahead.
Go for it,
Yeah, anything goes.
Yeah,
The wild world
please,
of
please.
Rome. Wild West of
Indoors
game
even.
development.
Yeah.
No, but no, it's really something outstanding. I think to have people that genuinely care about the game, proven that they care with the work that they're doing, especially with such a small team. Because you're just looking at Steel Seed, you would think that it's at least a double A, triple A something game. It looks very, very polished and up to that standard. And
It
looking at
is a
that,
double A premium game, actually.
yeah,
It,
There you
it
go.
costed a lot.
Yeah. It
Oh my
looks the
God.
part.
I want to cry. Yeah, go on. Go on.
but yeah, it's you can tell that level of work. I would never, never in 1,000 years have thought, like you said, less than 20 people were working on this game.
Through that. Also, if you look across to the sun, you will never say that 12 people worked on that.
Yeah, I'm
The
looking at
idea,
screenshots right now on Steam, and some of the environments here are gorgeous the way it's rendered.
that's so much, man.
Yeah.
The idea, when I opened the company almost 11 years ago now, I had a vision, okay? And I always stick to that vision. And the idea is that bring AAA knowledge into a small team and act
Hmm.
like if you're indie or double A premium product is a AAA. Don't think that it is a smaller one. No, 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 no. You are few people. Treat it as a AAA game. So we have on board, I have my experience, but we have on board Fabio Suriano, for example. He worked on the first engine of Gears of War. He worked on Forza Motorsport, Star Wars Battlefront, and so on and so on and so on and so on. The idea is that your game must look like a piece of love. And to
Hmm.
look like a piece of love, you need to treat it like a bigger project. There is no other way. And I know I'm
Yeah.
talking about looks, not about other things that are be beneath the graphics and the looks. But graphics are the first thing you see. Your eyes see what your brain cannot see. You cannot see the codes or the effort in the system for locomotion or things like that. But
Certainly.
you see something. That's the result. And so I love and hate the fact that it looks like a way bigger production. I love it because it means that we made it. Okay, that was the goal.
Yeah, the
I
ambition
hate
was
it
met.
because they are going to compare you to bigger
Certainly.
projects.
Yes.
And everyone right now is comparing Steel Seed to Stellar Blade. And it's a completely different game with a different scope. It's I didn't play Stellar Blade, so I don't even know what you can do in the game apart from showing your butts.
Yes, I believe he plays a girl in both. I think that's the only similarity.
Yes, and that's the only thing I know about Stellar Blade, but I want to play it when I have time. But the idea is that even if there is a girl and a bot in Stellar Blade, for sure, from what I've seen from YouTube videos, Steel Seed is another game. It's another thing.
Yeah.
It's a completely different product.
Different goals in these projects, certainly.
And the idea behind Steel Seed is that, yes, you are Zoe. You are a droid. And you have this companion, this flying robot, Kobe. But the idea is that what you can do, Kobe cannot do. What Kobe does, you cannot do. So you are the melee character. He is the range character. But we cannot stop to that. Kobe must be more helpful than that. It must be more than the son of Kratos in God of War. Not because God of War is not a good game, of course, I cannot say that. But the idea is that I hate when in games you have companions and you tell to the companion, go and open that door for me. I could just push a button and the door could open. You know?
Yeah.
So why are you asking your companion to open the door? I mean, for the first 5 minutes, it's okay. But after that, it's like, couldn't the companion do more than that?
Certainly.
And Kobe is a all-rounder wonder in our game. It's useful for combat. It's useful for stealth. It's useful for exploration. It's useful for all the things that are related to storytelling, lore, and things like that. I don't want to say too much, but he's the only one. You are a complete stranger in the facility in Steel Seed. So you cannot interact with anything. Kobe is not a stranger. He can interact with stuff in the facility. He can crack codes, decipher things. He can download informations. And there is not one single moment in the game where you don't use Kobe. You control Zoe, but you use both. And you can also control Kobe, of course.
Yes, I remember that from the demo. Flying around with him and shooting people. I did like that. Getting a nice distraction that I could sneak around and slice him up.
Yeah. Yes, actually, the nice thing about this game, and that's what I wanted from the very beginning, so goal achieved. We don't want for a specific player to do that or that in that specific situation, okay? We don't want to tell you what to do to solve problems in the game. We give you tools, we give you toys. I like to call them toys. It's a video game. They are toys.
Yeah, no, certainly.
We give you toys. Do what you want. And if you die, don't stress yourself because you died. You can try so many different combinations in the game. in a single area, then you can have fun for hours in that area, just trying different things. And because of that, because of all the possibilities we give you, I am a soul player, okay? I'm one of those get good guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry about that.
Miyazaki
Nah,
fan.
nothing to be sorry about.
Miyazaki is my new god, I suppose. And the Pope is not happy about that. And he's really near here.
I can see, yeah.
Very much so.
So the idea is that if I want to make a game that feels fresh, I mean, okay, let's make it clear. With Still Seed, we didn't reinvent the wheel. We didn't want to reinvent the wheel, and all the latest changes that we are making in the game right now are not meant to reinvent any kind of wheel. In Still Seed, you will feel that there are different elements from different games that you already played that merge together. But it's not like in some games when you mix too many elements from too many games together, it looks like someone barfed on the floor.
Yeah, it becomes messy. Yeah, unfocused.
Yes. Well,
yeah.
that's the right word. Yes, it looks messy.
Yeah.
It's better than barf. I'm not mother tongue, guys. Sorry.
No worries. We appreciate you.
The idea was that it must not look messy at all. So you will feel that nothing is strange. You're not a stranger to anything in the game. You recognize that mechanic. You recognize that
familiar.
Mechanic. You recognize
certainly.
that mechanic. It's familiar. You feel at home. Okay. But at the same time, it doesn't feel like another game. Okay. You are not replaying another game. It doesn't feel like that. Still Seed is Still Seed. The other games are other games. And in order to, another idea was that, okay, I hate modern gaming, okay? Apart from Souls, of course. I hate, but why I love that much Souls? Only one reason. They remind me of old gaming. That's the point. Games were hard. You had to achieve
it pushes back, yeah, certainly.
The difference between Souls and games like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde on NES is that Souls are funny, at least. Okay? So it's old school gaming, but they are fun.
Yes. Yeah.
And the idea behind Still Seed was like, I want to bring some of that old school fashion in this game. Someone will get it. Someone else, maybe the younger ones, will not get it. So that arcade feel, you know? And how can, for me, online engagement is important. I mean, I make money with my games. With that money, I pay people. We have kids. We have to put bread on the table every night for our kids. It's important. Money is important. But at the same time, I want to, for some people, for some players, I want them to feel something. I want them to feel not just at home, but also like a recognition of the old times. And I told you, online engagement for me is important because money is important. But at the same time, if a friend of yours comes to your place and you want to show a piece of Still Seed that really catch your attention, you want to give the gamepad to him so he can experience that part of the game. The idea is that he will play the game in a completely different way than you, for sure.
Certainly. Yes.
And second thing, we have savvy points in the game which act like bonfire.
Yes.
So you can go back wherever you want, not because of narrative reasons. Yes, there are some narrative reasons to go back to hold savvy points, okay? But the reason is that, yes, you can grind in our game. You can farm in Steel Seed. You need some grinding, some farm if you want to upgrade your skill tree. But at the same time, I want you to give the damn pad in the hand of your friend to go to that specific point and let him have the same fun you had in that specific point. So
Right.
that's why you are able to go back.
To go back just to re-experience it.
That's the main
memorable
reason.
areas.
Yeah, I think the demo we played through, you certainly get a very good impression of sort of like the breadth, the width and breadth of player expression, through the tools that are offered, and just the way that even encounters are designed.
We didn't unlock every toy and every tool in the demo, of course, and we had to lock something. So
certainly
not all the polishing and all the changes were in the demo, unfortunately, because we needed to test them before actually releasing that stuff in a demo, and we didn't have the time. So today the game is at least twice as better as the demo. Actually,
that's good to hear.
Any idea
so
if you can
every time
say what feature was not put in, and like a different mechanic or some sort of ability that would be in
no,
the
no,
final
no, no,
game?
no, no, no. The features are there, the mechanics are there, graphics are way better. For example, lighting is way more has a lighter impact on the frame rate.
Okay.
Let's say that we went from some areas that were where the light complexity was really too high. Now those areas, and you could lag, you could see your frame rate drop. And right now the light complexity is not even a thing in the game.
Nice.
After the last pass of lighting, it's not even a thing. There is an entire level that has one light, because Unreal Engine gives you the ability to use lumen for global illumination, so that one specific level, I was really having a problem doing the lighting inside there, and there were gazillions of lights that the guys placed to see something, to work in the level.
Sure. And
the light complexity was too high. I didn't really have a vision for that level. And at some point, this is, ideas are not something that you sit around the table and you have ideas. It doesn't work like that. Sometimes you have to digest things for days, weeks, even months sometimes. This time it didn't take so long, fortunately, because it took 1 week, I think, something like 1 week. And it came to my mind how I wanted the level. And I started thinking how to achieve that result. And at the end, I deleted all the lights, all of them. And I just used lumen and volumetric scattering and physical properties of the atmosphere, let's say, to actually give that level the proper lighting. So in that level, at the moment, there is only one light. Is that even because if you think about it, enemies are so heavy. Their logic, their behavior, their AI is really heavy on the system.
I'm sure it's taxing.
So you want to actually save something somewhere else to give more power to that, and that level is full of enemies, full of them. So I'm really, really happy. Unreal Engine is a wonderful tool. It gives you something that before was unthinkable, really. The global illumination is not perfect in quality, but people will cope with that, I think, because it's the new dawn of a new era,
If this
games are going there. Yes.
Wow. Very cool. Well, kind of going into my next question, and I suppose without spoiling too much because we're trying to avoid that. But as far as level variety goes, and the game seems to be taking place within a singular location, but can players expect a lot of visual, environmental variety, despite the fact that it is in this single location?
The single location is 75 square kilometers.
Okay.
Of land.
Okay. Got a
So
lot
even
of-
Assassin's Creed is in a single location. It's
Mhm.
just that it's an entire country.
Certainly.
It's the same thing, more or less. At the beginning, we wanted to go open world. Then we said, okay, wait a second. This is a really big project. We are going to be just 20,
Yeah.
and let's make it more linear, okay?
Go.
Please.
I feel like that
please.
kind of speaks to your triple A ambitions, though, right? That you approach projects with, right? You
One
think
day,
big in that.
one
Yeah.
day,
Yeah.
just one step at a time.
Certainly.
And we wanted to make it linear, but also do not feel like
Hmm.
you were following a route. Okay? That's why when the game will be released, you will see that there are some levels where you can take multiple paths.
Mm.
And this works incredibly well for stealth as well. Stealth is a main thing in Stealth Seed. And the idea that you have, the door is there, the gateway is there. You can see it really clearly. It's just incredibly distant, and you need to find your way. to
Your
reach
way.
it.
Yeah. Perfect. Nice. All right. Nick, any further questions regarding Steel Seed right now?
Here's
It's a
quick
good
one.
game. Buy 1,000 copies each week.
I do appreciate the difficulty, like how hard enemies hit. It really incentivizes stealth, but then I do feel like it's balanced in a way that if you do end up in a combat situation,
Yeah, you can hold
if
your
you
own.
have the skill, yeah, you can get through it. So
At the very
cool there.
beginning, combat was, in our brains at least, was the escape way from a bad decision in stealth. So you were trying to stealth, you fucked up everything, you had combat
Yeah, it's the
to
next
fix the
step.
situation. We changed that, okay? Well, it's still like that. If you fuck up stealth, enemies will see you,
Mm.
and combat is the only way. Well, it's not the only way actually, but let's not dig too much.
Yes.
The idea that now is that combat is a feasible solution to problems. Some people will never like the stealth approach. Some people just want to shoot, shoot, destroy.
Yeah, certainly.
And who am I to tell them that they're wrong? It's their free time, it's their money. If there are like games where you just shoot, it's okay. This is not a game where you just shoot and fix the problems, okay? But if you want to fix the problems, to fix the situation using combat in Steel Seed, yes, you can. You can. It's just that bear in mind that you will have to invest your points in the skill tree in a reasonable way, of course. Plus, it's hard. Okay? It's hard. Enemies have lots of health. They hit really hard. And we have a system in place where enemies are organized in teams. So if you see 10 enemies, it's very possible, very, very, very possible that actually those 10 enemies are 3 different teams.
Gotcha.
And members of the team, of the same team, can communicate with each other, between each other. So if you attack one member of the team, other members will know it. And when you are ganked by 2, 3, 4, sometimes 6 enemies at once, it can be incredibly fun. Like can be incredibly satisfying, if you approach such a dangerous situation in the correct way. And the correct way is not just to push X to use your sword.
Certainly.
You have your Kobe tools. You have hiding spots. You can lower the threat level of enemies So lowering lowering a threat level of enemies means that they go from combat to hunting to back to patrol. Okay, and when they're hunting, you can actually really. I don't want to cuss anymore. You can.
It's all good.
Okay, well, you can fuck with their brains,
There you
Yeah.
go.
because you are like, I come from Ubisoft. I love Splinter Cell. The idea that they are still hunting and you backstab one and you go back to the shadows and then you backstab another one and then you combat with another one and then you hide in the shadows again. That's what I wanted.
Yeah,
And not
picking
all
them
people
off.
will play like that, but it's your choice. It's your game. It's not my game. We didn't make it to be my game. It's your game. You decide.
Yeah.
Sure. I definitely got that with the hacking mechanism. How you can just take someone over and they immediately start swinging their sword at the closest enemy.
Yeah, getting them on your side.
That's the
It's
poisonous
very good.
arrow of Tomb Raider, okay? Of many other games where in Tomb Raider you could shoot a poisonous arrow to an enemy, and that enemy was going mad and shooting his friends, okay? But what I didn't like about that system is that you liked it the first 3 times. But the problem was that you shoot the poisonous arrow to the enemy goes in berserk, starts shooting his own friends. His friends just take him out in 2 seconds. Okay, it's 10 people against one berserker. He's gonna die really quick.
Very quickly. Yeah.
So it's a fun situation, but nothing more than that. In our game, you hack the enemy systems. The enemy's not really helping you. Okay, he's fighting his friends, but he's resilient. Not as resilient as a normal enemy, of course, because otherwise it would be overpowered. But you have a companion, it's Kobe. The hacked enemy is not your companion. It's just an enraged enemy. It's just a. But you can create strange situations with that, stuff that streamers like a lot. And sometimes when all the enemies are dead, you can see the hacked enemy near you with a weapon like this, waiting for something to do. And then you move and he follows you and you are like, what do you want from me?
Yeah, I think I ended up just killing my hacked enemy after the battle was over,
right.
just to
It's
kind
like,
of clear
well-
the area.
At some point he will die, of course, but not as soon as Tomb Raider enemies. The idea is that your hacked enemy can be incredibly helpful for fighting enemies in this area. But if he survives after that and you go to another area and he's still following you, he doesn't reason with anything. If he sees an enemy, it will screw up your situation.
Yeah.
You wanted to go stealth, think about it before.
Certainly. Okay. Nice. Well, so I know we can't say the release date, but tentatively players can expect to get the game within 2024. Afterwards, after launch, do you have any plans for anything post-launch, like the levels or any DLC? Oh, very cool.
Well, first thing, lots of support to the game, because what I feel the games today, when we talk about supporting a game that is already on the market, we are talking about patches that fix problems that should not ever been in the game in the first place. Okay, that's not support. That's finishing your job.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate practice of this era, I'd say.
Yeah, the idea is to release a game that works and then fixing with patches things that even 1,000 people QA departments could not find. Because let's face it, guys, today's games are way more complex than 5 years ago or 10 years ago. Okay.
Certainly.
Finding every problem is impossible. Really, it's impossible. But the game must be in a playable state. Our games, the games coming out of Starmina Teacup must never be in that situation like Battlefield, that the game comes out and the game is not working.
Yeah.
Okay. And you have to wait 6 months at the 12th patch to be able to play it.
Yeah, once your interest is at its highest at the 6-month mark.
Exactly. Yeah, at that point when so many people have abandoned it, certainly.
So that's the idea. Lots of support to the game, and also a DLC. If the players will be kind enough to buy our game, then we will have the money to actually make a DLC. And the DLC will not be a part of the game that has been cut from the game. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Real new content.
Yes.
Yeah. Right on. Yeah. Okay.
Wonderful.
And then, yeah, Nick, do you want to close out with these last questions from a community member?
Yes.
Go.
We have quite a few actually.
They asked quite a bit, so thank you, Buns.
We got from Donnie Q. Start off.
Oh, and Donnie Q.
Yes, he is. It's actually perfect since you have AAA experience. You're saying, why is it that indie games need 50 gigabytes worth of space on my hard drive?
First of all, I don't know. Second of all, it really depends on the game, you know. Usually, okay, if you're working with the Real Engine 4 or with Unity, okay, you are talking about systems that technically do majorly, how can I put it in a simple way? They calculate lighting data and another kind of data before. It's not real time. What you see, it was something that was calculated from the developer side and then applied in real time. So, for example, on Real Engine 4, if you look across to the sun, it's huge, too big, man, too big. And part of that was the texture size, of course. But 90% of that weight was the build data. Because when you build, when you pre-bake global illumination, every single light, every single shadow, that's gonna have a cost.
Yeah, it just adds up.
And the more a level is big, the more a game is big, the more your build data are going to be big. That's it. There's nothing you can do about it. With the Real Engine 5, our game now, Still Seed, is not 10 times bigger than Close to the Sun. I think it's 100 times bigger than Close to the Sun. And the way, I don't know how many gigabytes, but it's nothing compared to Close to the Sun. Why? Because Real Engine 5 does all of those things in real time. So we don't need to pre-bake things onto images.
I see. There you go, Donnie. Now you know.
There you go, Donnie. Yeah.
Most likely a Unity game. Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Let's see. And yes, we have a long list from Buns, but most important ones, I would say. Number one, what media in particular inspired the tone of Steel Seed? Like any films or games in particular, aside the ones we've already discussed?
Everything started from a comic.
Really?
From a manga called Blame.
Oh, yeah, I know about that one.
I loved it. I'm a big fan of that manga. I brought it to the office. I told to the guys, now every one of you read this manga, okay? It's just a few books. Just read them because this sets, in a way, sets the mood for Steel Seed. But in time, you start bringing other elements from other movies, other mangas, other animes, other whatever, other games even, okay? So you will see a huge influence from Blame, Ergo Proxy, Terminator, of course, and Akira, for example.
Okay.
And there is some kind of references that Evangelion. Are you seeing the Warrior Titan in some of the old trailers? That's
For which one?
Evangelion.
For Steel.
Yeah. Well, if you see some older trailers, you will see this huge Titan, and that Titan screams Evangelion.
Evangelion. Okay, right on.
Or the
And
angels.
It's more like of no, it's not like the angels, but you will recognize some of the distinctive design choices of Evangelion in that guy, in that Titan. And there are so many references, really so many. There is one that no one will ever understand. There is one enemy that comes more or less straight from 2013, The Fortress, a really old movie with the guy from Highlanders. What was he called? I don't remember. But there are so many
Christopher
references.
Lambert?
The idea, Christopher Lambert. Yeah, right. And the idea is that where is he now? I don't know. The idea behind Still Seed is that fill the game with pop references, cultural references from the 80s, from the 90s, and from the 2000s. So people from the 80s will recognize the ones from the 80s. People from the 90s will recognize those ones from the 90s. But younger people can also be affected by this. So there is one thing that no one found in the demo. Okay, I just tell you one thing.
Okay.
Use Kobe and look in the lava.
Okay.
Maybe a thumbs
I
up.
definitely didn't try that. Interesting.
No one found it, and it's okay. It's okay. Once the game will be out, there will be an achievement attached to that thing. If you see that thing,
there you go.
And that's a reference to pop culture.
Terminator 2, maybe.
How do you know?
Only time will tell. Only time will tell.
It's a wild guess. Can't say for sure.
A robot in lava.
Yeah. Could be
Interesting.
Well, I'm not telling you anything anymore.
Okay. Right on.
My mouth is shut.
All right, and then we talked about stealth games. You said you were a huge fan of Splinter Cell in particular. So let me see. What is
Also Hitman? I worked on Hitman Absolution.
Oh, really?
Ooh, okay.
Yes. So
Nice.
actually, that was a big part of the stealth process was coming from that game.
Ooh, yeah, straight from the Hitman series.
Yeah, I'm a big Hitman fan.
It's true. He
Very
is.
cool.
He shaved his head before. I saw it.
Yeah, 47 style.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, the big one. Were there any major design revisions for Zoe? And if so, what led to their changes?
There were some design revisions for everything, more or less. And Zoe was one of those characters who was designed more than once. But the nice thing is that storytelling-wise, it made a sense later. And I'm not telling you anything more.
Okay.
But,
okay. Right on.
We had concept arts from 4 years ago. They are completely different from the actual Zoe. Completely different. And we also have 3D models with skeletons and weights from 3 years ago. They were different from Air now. But at some point, we reached a point where more or less that was Zoe, okay? Maybe we were going to change something, but more or less that was it. And it worked. It clicked in our brains. We changed the heads and we changed the hairs and we changed many other things, but we are pretty happy with the Zoe we have now. And I tell you why. She is more Lara Croft than the main character of Stellar Blade. Okay, Lara Croft in the reboot, of course. Okay, she is the simple girl. She's not like the superhuman,
Supermodel. Yeah,
supermodel, superhero. No
certainly.
way. At some point, we were taking the decision of we do we want more breast or more butt on our character? It's going to sell more for sure. And I was like, no way. No way. If the game sells, it's because it's a good game. If it doesn't sell, it's because it's a bad game. I'm not going to sell, I don't know, 50,000 more copies because of breast and butts. I leave that stuff to other kind of people, okay?
Certainly.
Yeah, censorship fanatics,
Mhm.
as they like to
Let's call them like that.
themselves. Yeah, very, very anti-censorship, that crowd.
Yeah, well, look at Tifa in Final Fantasy VII. At some point, they had to censor the costume of Tifa on Costa del Sol. I mean, why? She already has breasts like this throughout the entire game. Why do you want to show them more? It's fan service. It's not fan service. It's masturbation service.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't need that.
Even
You
in
don't
the
need that.
original, when she had that giant triangle, it was huge.
Yeah.
Yes, they were always huge, but if we treat that story like a serious one, with a lot of funny moments, of course, but the story of Final Fantasy VII is a really serious one, and the story of Steel Seed is an incredibly serious one. Okay, then there are funny moments. Yes, there are funny moments, but it's a serious matter. Okay, for the characters in the game. And then you start just diverging, showing boobs and butts and things like that. I mean, you have internet, right? You have Pornhub, right? Do you need that?
You don't need it intersecting your video games, right?
Yeah,
Keep
I
it
mean,
separate. Yeah.
It's something that I'm not saying that other developers should not do it. But for example, the reason why I never finished Nier
I was going to say, this all feels like some near
I mean,
Automata
I was
content.
40 years old. There is this 14 years old girl with 1 million polygons on her butt. And I'm like, what is happening? She's underage. No, she's 100 years old because she's a robot. I don't care.
Robot.
That's an excuse. She's an underage girl with a butt right in front of the camera. And for me, I'm not saying that this should be for everyone, but for me, that's wrong. That's it.
Yeah, you draw the line. It's up to the individual, certainly.
Sam, this will be our most controversial episode yet.
It's certainly up to the discretion of creators. But all right. Well, thank you for answering all those questions.
Yeah, it's good to know. So kept to a very specific design standard. Didn't want to
let it detract from what you're doing, what story you're trying to tell. And again, not saying that there's no place for that within the industry, but
exactly.
Your goals,
it's just not for Storming a Teacup. That's it.
Right on.
Perfect.
Okay. Well, that sort of brings us to the end of today's episode.
And what a final question that was.
Yeah, and what a final question and discussion that was. Carlo, this was a real pleasure. Thank you for coming on and talking about all this with us. It was
thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
thank you. You have a real passion for games that we love to see, and it's really great that you really have put all this time and effort and really all this focus. I could tell you're someone who really cares about video games, and it's I don't know, it's just nice. It's really great. I like it.
Yeah, we love to see the passion.
Until it's there, because at some point you get older, you're like, this job is just too complex for me. Lots of people leave this kind of job when they are more or less between 45 and 50. Why? Because it's hard, and every year is harder. And at some point, you don't have the strength for that.
I could imagine, the creative drain it takes on a person's soul. But, we're glad you're keeping at it, and we're looking forward to what you got coming. And, the lights at the end of the tunnel, you can see it. You're nearly there, So Viewers, listeners, you can wishlist Steel Seed on Steam right now. You guys could follow Storm and Teacup on X, I'm sure, if you guys got a social media page. Or
Yeah, we are
just
not really that
their
strong on
website.
social media, but
Mhm.
we have all the social medias.
Certainly. And as always, you can find me at the Super Samicom and Nick at Somebody Stop Me.
Yeah.
We'll link everything below. If you liked what you heard, if you liked what you watched, consider liking, subscribing, all that jazz. Maybe even leave a comment. We'll read them. And until next time, thank you for tuning in. We have been Video Ditch. Yeah, keep on gaming, and we'll see you next time.
See you then.
Ciao, ciao.
Thank you.
Perfect.
All right.
All right.
Wonderful.
Yeah, well.